Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you're new to this channel, or you've not done so already, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support this channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they're live, and there's also a PayPal link in the info box below the video once it's rendered. But most importantly, if you would like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the shape of the Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel. So please share the show. And one last time, if you're new to the channel or you have not done so already, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. Now we are joined by Chocolate Sayin and Arwin. How the devil are you both?
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Good to have you both.
Yeah.
What do you know?
Good to be here.
What do I
Same
know?
old stuff.
Yeah, that's my ham-handed way into a little bit of chit-chat before some housekeeping.
I know that I'm hoping that Riley's gonna come in.
Oh yeah, why are you hoping
Because I
Riley
got
comes
something
in?
to say to him.
You've got something to say to Riley?
Yep.
Sounds ominous. About you, Chocolate, what do you know?
Went outside today. I knew I wasn't spinning. That I know.
Oh, so maybe that's a nice start to the housekeeping. If Arwin's seen any signs of Earth-based axial rotation, what do you say, Arwin? Any signs of that?
Nope.
About curvature?
Whoa, what's this?
Any signs of curvature, either of you two?
Negative.
No? Pressurized system next to a vacuum? Any signs of that?
That will be a big no.
Any signs of
Not over
R?
here anyway.
Any scientific evidence of R?
Nope.
No? Arwin?
No, it's same old, same old.
What about a self-perpetuating molten iron core? Has that reared its ugly head? Any proof of that?
Well, it
I
could
saw
be.
one in a textbook.
Oh, we haven't encountered it yet. It could still be somewhere, but it's not gonna be a cause of any magnetism, that's for sure.
Fair enough. What about scientific evidence of gravity?
Which one?
Any scientific evidence of anything gravity?
Okay, well, masses are definitely not attracted to masses. As for a force keeping us to our flat Earth, oh yeah, definitely.
Hey Mark, how you doing?
Hello, folks. Are we okay?
Not bad, not bad. How are you?
100%.
What's up, Mark?
Enjoying this beautiful Saturday?
Yeah. We've got overcast, but it's still quite warm. Are we live yet?
We're live right now. Please don't swear.
Hello to the world.
Share the show.
Yeah, I saw an interesting documentary. I posted it in the Master B chat too. Pretty long. And it is about the simulation theory. And it had some really compelling data in it. Also, a couple of presumptions within it about what photons really are and that. But yeah, it did get into the quantum mechanics and the double slit experiment quite extensively. I learned more about that than I knew before watching that video. It was really fascinating in a sense. And yeah, it made me realize that there is somewhat of a simulatory nature to the creation. Although, yeah, it still makes it very solid, and there's no proof like a computer program it can be turned off or anything like that. But yeah, I thought it was pretty compelling.
Yeah, I watched the first 10 or 15 minutes of it in the background when you sent it. I'm always slightly put off by simulation stuff, but recently I've been a little bit more open
Yeah,
to it.
no, it is. The philosophical implications are dangerous to the simple mind because, yeah, it tends to take away the purpose of things.
Sure, it's a bit
Because
like
as we treat
heliocentricity in that
computer
regard.
simulations, we just turn them off, we do whatever, we get bored, and we just blow things up.
Right.
Because we're used to that, if we then consider the world like a simulation, it tends to bring us to that same place in a way. It's just psychologically conditioned to respond to that concept like that, and that's not a good thing. So I am not a simulationist, absolutely not, but I do definitely believe that there are simulatory simulation alike elements to creation.
Sure, there's some overlaps in both. I mean, the thing for me that puts me off is well, you've mentioned it already, but both heliocentrism and simulation theory end in nihilism.
Yeah, it was pretty interesting because it also brought back an idea that's been going on in my head for a long time, for a possible technological application for the concept that they described, very detailed, especially the latter half of the movie or the documentary about resonating particles, how photons can basically be, it's kind of vague, but how they can basically be split apart and they will respond instantly, simultaneously, no matter the distance, uh, upon observation. That was basically the basis of it. And I can devise a very useful technology from this concept that could eliminate a lot of health problems in this world. And it's been in my mind for a long time. I might have even described it on my history themed hangout about the holographic future era.
Plug away.
That's
All right.
cool.
I'll give a short summarization of it. We now have a lot of communications, all types information being sent through either wire systems, which is very reliable, or through wireless, which is very convenient. That includes all kinds of mediums, satellites, radio towers, mobile phones, all that stuff. But it is also becoming more and more clear that there is a detriment to that system, that it is unhealthy, that it affects brain activity, that can, with long and heavy exposure, cause uh, cancer, or rather, cause cancer to become hostile to the body and uncontainable, dangerous. And, well, it would be very nice if we could still have this giant internet of communication where it's very convenient, where it can be mobile, but without that hazard, without the need even of theoretical satellites, although they'll probably keep them in there just for the myth of it, because they have to, because they need us to believe that. And that is through instant molecular communication, by basically using these apart photons as a foundation to wire signals through. And if they enter the molecule affected, then the other molecules should be affected perfectly similarly, instantly. And that way you could use it as a medium to transfer information instantly without a signal, yeah, without any detriment to it. The only problem is it's a signal that can't be tapped into externally. It's very problematic for secret services. And there's no way to tell that it is going on except through the entrance port and the exit port. So that is my technology derived concept. I've had this in my mind for at least a decade because I heard of the concept before.
Yeah, the government's not gonna like that. They can't sneak in there.
I'm pretty sure they already have it because it is extremely useful. Extremely
Hey, Milo.
useful for
Milo, how
covert
you doing?
operations.
Hi, Milo.
Good morning.
Morning.
What's up, Milo?
What's up? What were you guys talking about?
Arwin was. Yep, ask him.
Alvin, what were you talking about?
It's talking about a technological application for a quantum mechanical concept.
Oh, okay. I was actually watching videos about quantum computers the other day. Confusing as hell.
I don't think so.
It's pretty confusing.
Not to me.
That's cool.
No, I'm getting it more and more, and I'm starting to understand the different angles of approach
Right.
and why certain angles of approach are confusing and scattering
Like which
because
ones?
of the nature of the approach.
Mm-hmm. Like superposition of I don't even know. Superposition is confusing.
It's not if you approach it as if it is a simulation.
Oh, you're saying we might be in a simulation?
No,
Okay.
just saying that if you approach it in a simulatory approach, that it does make sense and it is very easily conceptualized.
Can you explain that, or did you already explain that?
No, not directly, but I can, and that is I believe in creation.
Hmm.
And what if the creator has been using simulatory elements to basically create creation? Then it's not a simulation, but it is simulatory in nature. And that
So
would
like
make a lot of sense.
like a prototype.
No, it would simply mean that this is not a sub realm, like a computer program running in some other reality. It is the only realm, I believe, or the only physical realm. But the way it was created and designed was through simulatory effects. It's just the
Hmm.
setting of creation itself.
Right.
So,
Okay.
like a simulation out of nothing, or as some like to call it, we all live in the imagination of the creator.
Hmm. Whose imagination does the creator exist in?
Well, in ours, for once, but we are all him. We are all fragmented aspects of the creator.
Is the creator a thing?
It is all things.
So the creator is nothing.
Oh, really? Are all things nothing?
Well, if something is everything, then that thing is not
Everything.
defined.
Yeah, it is. It is everything. That's pretty clear definition.
If something is everything, then I don't think it has any attributes to describe it.
Besides being
Really?
everything.
Is everything not an attribute?
Well, it's everything, then,
Yeah.
it's everything.
Yep. Alpha and the Omega. All knowing, all present, all encompassing. It is everything, literally.
It's like the other day there's like an echo. I don't know. Can somebody mute? I don't know where the echo is coming from.
Seems good my end. I don't know if it's your end only, Milo, but it's not coming through on the broadcast, I don't think.
Okay. So I was having an argument with somebody about art, and in
Yeah.
my opinion, art is a specifically defined thing. But to the person that I was arguing against, they were defining art as anything you want it to be. So when you define art as being anything, then you aren't defining art, you know? If everything can be art, then what is art?
It is subjective.
Right.
It is what a individual and their mindset needs it to be.
So the
And
creator,
usually it is determined by the reaction, the response of the person. And if that person is a person that likes to be invigorated, that likes beauty, then they will tend to call beauty art. They're a very ugly person and like death and destruction, then they will call that art.
right?
Yeah.
So then art, if you define it that way, has no definition.
Yes, it does. It is subjective. That is very specific about it.
It has a definition to the viewer.
Right. That's what I'm saying. So if it's subjective, then there are millions upon millions of possible definitions, meaning it doesn't have a definition.
Now you're assuming that
No, it's
all human beings are all extremely different. No. So
No,
there's
no, I'm not
only
saying that.
pathways. There's a spectrum basically of angles of approach. So it's not that widely.
No,
I
the thing
think
is that
I mean
the thing is that if you,
the word art has a definition. I think it
yeah,
just has a different meaning to every individual.
right. So that's the thing. So if it's defined in a million different ways, then it
Like
has no definition.
I know what art means and you know what art means, right? But I
Right,
can look at something and say, "Wow, that's art." And you could look at the same thing and be like, that's retarded." You know,
right.
like
So
I don't
Well,
even know what I'm looking at.
let me define an aspect, a very critical aspect of art, and that is if something is not taken notice of, then it is not art. Because only the observation, the bringing it to consciousness, whatever it may be, can make it art. Without taking notice of it, then it could not be art.
right, I understand that. What I'm saying is that if you define it that way, then art does not have a singular definition.
Shout out to Joey for the super chat. Thanks a million. Things do have defined terms, though. You know, art does have a definition.
Yeah, and that's the definition I agree with. I don't agree with the art is everything, so you know anything can be art. I don't agree with that.
Well,
Well,
That's just
it
those
could
two
be.
that's
things
just
are
lazy
those are,
artists.
they
Definition.
do
No, it
they're
could
two
be. It
different
depends
things.
on the consciousness and how they see things.
You've said everything can be art, therefore everything is art in essence, but that's not the case. So
It's a
the
formological fallacy.
well, it is kind
No,
of. But the expression or application of human creative skill and imagination, typically in a visual form, would be a definition of art that everybody could understand. But that means that you could take anything and, by your own expression on that item, your positioning of it, you know, you could literally rearrange a few leaves and call it art. But that doesn't mean that inherently those leaves were artistic in the way they fell. It's the expression,
right.
the human interaction.
But even that rearranging of those leaves by a person, that wouldn't make those leaves art. Subjectively, that would make those leaves art to the artist, but it wouldn't make it art. Ugh.
Well, I think that nature itself is a piece of art.
Right.
Yeah. Well,
So,
this is
you guys, did you guys get over the downward acceleration force? Did
Hey
you explain that?
James, how you doing?
Yeah.
Can you hear? One second, Milo.
How's it going?
Hi James, can you
Howdy,
hear us?
howdy.
Hello.
Yeah, he said
Hold on,
something.
Alwyn. Hi James, can you hear us?
Yeah, I've seen
Good to have
saying
you.
hey, how's it going?
Hi Lewis, how you doing? Good to have you.
So, Arwen, were you able to get that through yet?
Yeah,
Yes. So everybody's in agreement that there is a downward acceleration force.
of course not.
Oh, okay. So you weren't able to get that through.
I've been getting it through to many people, and I've been now able to formulate it better
Hmm.
to prove it through deduction.
So, Arwen, what is the problem with calling the downward acceleration force, gravity.
Oh, that's mainly
Is it
because of
because
the
of the baggage?
allergies. Well, there's an allergy concerning gravity and the expanded upon gravitational pull theory,
Hmm.
and that makes using the word gravity a problem.
So it's mainly the extra baggage.
Exactly.
Mm. But you know you're describing gravity, right?
I'm describing downward acceleration force.
Hmm. So you um are you against naming this force? Or do
No.
you just want to keep that long title?
Well, I will call it gravity to my convenience, and then
Sure.
mainly for flat earthers expand upon it and give a detailed explanation that it is what I'm talking about, downward acceleration force, to prevent confusion.
So does everyone agree that um objects when dropped accelerate towards the earth?
When dropped, how did they get into
Depends
the...
on the
Sorry, I just
scenario.
need to answer that question. I need to get some clarity from you, Milo. How did they get into the position in the first instance to be dropped?
It could be a raindrop.
So how
Raindrops
did that
got up there
raindrop...
through evaporation.
So there was energy put into it. It was heated up through the sun, according to the standard model of the water cycle. So there was energy installed into the water, and that energy caused it to change its state and then rise up because it became less dense. So the cause would
Okay.
be heat from the sun. Would you agree?
Yeah,
So it's
evaporation.
been
Yeah.
given energy by the heat of the sun, so the cause is not gravity, is it? It's changed its
No,
state.
the cause of the evaporation is the sun or
So,
heat.
yes, that's how it got up there in the first place. So the reason it fell was because it first rose. And the reason it first rose was because it was heated up. It was given energy.
No, because
Yes. Hold on.
things won't
Hold
move.
on. Just before
Uh-huh.
you just don't just say no. Why no?
I
Are you
was just,
saying it wasn't
I was just,
heated up? It wasn't given more energy to change state? Are you saying it went
well,
from a... Hold on. Are you saying it went from a liquid state at a lower temperature to a gaseous state, higher temperature, without being given energy?
can I explain the no? I was just
That's what I'm
about to do
asking.
that. So, objects cannot move unless a force is applied to it.
Like heat from the sun with a drop of water. Okay, gotcha so far.
So the force is the sun.
Yep.
The energy
So-
is the sun.
So, okay. So what you're saying is that
What goes
this
up must
downward.
come down. So once it becomes too dense to sustain its own weight, it then condenses and falls as rain.
Right.
The cause being it originally was given energy to evaporate in the first place. Like a microphone being picked up. What's the cause of it dropping? Somebody picking it up. It was given energy by someone picking it up. So no force is required. It was at rest until someone interfered with that and picked it up.
Right,
Well,
but
I
things.
think
The problem is that things fall at a consistent rate.
Sorry, they would have had to have been picked up first, though, wouldn't they?
well, I think
So we're
that's the
just-
problem. Is
So-
why does it have to be picked up?
It doesn't.
Why
You
is
could
that
just leave it at
force-
rest.
why
You
is
don't
that
have to
force
pick it
acting
up.
against?
You don't have to pick it up and then decide that a pseudo force is pulling it back down again when you release it. You have given it energy, potential energy,
Right.
by picking
Hold
it up.
up. But this is the thing that no matter how high you bring an object, and energy you're applying to it, the downward acceleration force is constant.
So if you
So
didn't
the
touch it,
energy.
hold on. So if you didn't pick up the microphone, would it fall?
No, this is what I'm saying.
So the
So
cause of
you're
that falling,
okay.
hold on, you're saying it's a gravitational force, right?
Yes.
Well, the force was someone picking it up. That's put potential energy into that item that was previously at rest.
Okay. So how much potential energy are you putting into the object? Is it
Who
proportionate
cares?
to the?
You're putting energy
wait,
into it. You're saying there's a force that pulls it. No, it was perfectly happy until you put potential energy into it. Then
Yeah,
it
but
released that
Nathan-
potential
Right, but
energy.
you're saying
and
that- you're
why are you
saying that
talking over
everything's-
me, Milo? Yeah, it was perfectly happy at rest. Then you put potential energy into the microphone by picking it up. You then released that potential energy by letting it go. Simple. Shout out to Mixlix for the super chat. So that's it. That's
Sorry
the
for
state
interrupting.
of what you have done in that process. Inserted
Yeah,
potential energy, then released potential energy. That's it.
Right. So why is the potential energy the same no matter how much how high you bring the object?
It's not. The more high you take
It
something,
is.
the more potential energy you put into it. But ultimately, the more energy you use to insert that energy. Taking a bag
that's
of
not
bricks. Hold on. Taking a bag of bricks up one flight of stairs takes less energy than taking a bag of bricks up 10 flights of stairs.
Exactly.
Therefore,
Exactly.
when you
That's
get... Hold on.
That's
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
so you've put more energy in. You've sweated more. You've used more physical energy to get it up. It's nothing to do with gravity. You've given it potential energy. Then if you chuck it off the top, you release all of the potential energy you've put into it. Simple. Then the bricks, when they hit the bottom, return to the rest position. They return to an equilibrium despite the fact that you have inserted and then released potential energy.
Right. So you're saying that the potential energy is proportionate to the height it's taken to, right?
Well, you're putting the energy in by lugging those bricks, right? Do you think they just get up there by magic?
Okay, so then why is the downward acceleration constant?
Who cares? They're only accelerating downwards because you've taken them upwards.
Yeah, but the brick that you drop on from the top of the Empire State Building and the brick that you drop from a foot off the ground, they both accelerate at the same speed.
Oh, that would be because of air, the pressure that is exerted on it by the air.
No,
Milo,
mine
that's
is
not
there.
fair.
the better question, I think, is even with Nathan's already
Lewis, we're in the middle of a
admitting to
conversation.
is-
If you don't mind, Lewis, just wait till we've
is not
finished.
Lewis.
Yeah, you are. Shut up. We've not finished talking.
I'm
Okay,
adding
so
to it. Fine.
so the thing is that if you were right, the more potential energy that you apply to an object, the faster it should fall. But that's not what we see in reality.
No, it falls further because you've taken it higher.
It has to start at 0.
Right.
No, but if you give it more energy, it should fall faster.
No, further. Further.
No, faster.
And it's starting
No,
at 0
it's got the
as
same
well,
amount of air
no
resistance
matter
against
how high
it.
it is.
It's got the same air resistance, so it's got a terminal velocity, depending on the item.
They fall at the same rate though.
Do they? So if I drop a feather off the top of the Empire State Building, it'll fall the same rate as a brick, will it?
If you remove all the air, yeah.
Oh, sorry, we're dropping it off the Empire State Building in a vacuum now, are we, dumbass? Why would you change this parameter? Is it because your example makes no sense?
No, it's because you have to.
No, it's because your example makes no sense. Yeah? We're dropping a feather, and we're dropping a brick, and they are not falling at the same speed because they are not in a vacuum. That would be your manipulation of your crap example that doesn't work.
No, because if you.
Yes, that's exactly what it is. Don't just say no. No is not an argument. Yeah, we drop a brick, we drop a feather. Surprisingly, it took a lot less energy to take the feather to the top than it did the brick.
Okay, Nathan, I'm not sure if you're muting me after I say no, but I say no and then I explain why I'm saying no. But you don't let me get to that.
Yeah, you said no, not in a vacuum chamber, which isn't what we are doing. You have completely changed the parameters of your example. That's why I'm interrupting you. Yeah? So just saying no after you have asserted that it won't do that in a vacuum chamber gets me irritated and gets me talking over the top of you. We're not in a vacuum chamber, Milo.
There's a lot
You're
of
gonna...
background
Hold on,
noise coming
Chocolate.
from
Chocolate,
Waz.
hold on. Milo, we are not in a vacuum chamber, are we?
Well, we're trying to isolate what's causing things to fall.
What, from the top
So-
of the Empire State Building?
From anywhere.
What's making them fall is you taking them to the top of the building. We've just established that. That's why they
Yeah.
fell. Had you have not taken them up, they wouldn't have gone anywhere. That's the point.
Objects fall towards Earth at the same.
If you take them to the top of the building, then they fall. They don't just fall by themselves, do they, Milo?
Yeah, but they fall at the same rate.
Not yeah, but nothing falls unless you take it up somewhere or it is given potential energy. Correct?
Yeah, but you're
Correct.
saying an increase in energy.
Right, so that's why they fell. You increased the energy, potential energy, then you released it. Simple. No
Yeah,
force
but-
of gravity needed.
You're ignoring that they fall at the same rate.
They don't. The feather didn't fall at the same rate of the brick. We went to the top of the Empire State, dropped them, and the feather dropped slowly. Very slowly. The brick fell very fast. What are you talking
Why?
about, Milo? What
Why?
are you on
Tell me,
about?
Why does the feather fall slower than the brick?
You just said it didn't. So why didn't it fall slower than
No,
the brick? Why didn't it?
I'm-
They didn't fall at the same rate like you just asserted they would. You said they'd fall
Yeah,
at the same rate. They didn't.
And I'm telling you why they don't fall at the same rate.
No, your assertion is that they do fall at the same rate. Don't now explain why they don't.
No.
Explain why.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, you following me? You've just reversed
Yeah.
your argument. You're going to explain
No,
why
no,
they
no.
don't fall at the same rate, even though your argument is that they do fall at the same rate. Do you understand?
I'm
Do you understand the contradiction here, Milo? You stupid.
No, it's because
You said
it's
they
because
fall at
air-
the same rate, Milo. They don't.
in a vacuum, I said.
Oh, so
So-
we're at the top of the state building in a vacuum, you complete dumbass. Is the top of the Empire State Building the top of a vacuum? Would it change the fact that you'd have to take the items to the top of that vacuum? Would any of the parameters change?
Can I get a few sentences in? All right, so the reason why they fall at the different rates because of air. So air is something that you have to control for in order to isolate what the forces are. In order to isolate what is causing these things to fall. So if you think it's
That's
potential
not
energy,
causing them to fall. The air isn't causing them to fall. Removing the air would mean that they fall at the same rate, but then your isolated variable is the air, isn't it?
yeah.
Right! So where does gravity come into this, you stupid idiot?
Because when you remove the air, you've isolated what the cause of the fall is.
Not the fall. It fell because you inserted potential energy. We established this already, Milo. The reason they are now falling at the same rate is because there is no resistance in your chamber. That doesn't change the reason they fell in the first place. That's because you took them up to the top
So
of the
why-
chamber.
So why is it that they have the same potential energy despite being
They
at different...
don't! The feather has far less potential energy, you complete idiot.
Okay,
Sorry, do you understand that, you complete dumbass? That if you carry a feather to the top of the Empire State Building, it requires less energy to do so. Are you dumb?
Sorry,
go ahead, Arwen. I think you know what I'm talking about.
yeah, I do, but you're explaining it very sloppily. So
Go ahead.
yeah.
What do you mean, go
potential
ahead,
energy,
Arwen?
It's about
Arwen,
weight.
shut up or I'll
If
kick
you're-
you out. How dare you? Shut your mouth. Right, Milo, do you understand that none of what you have just said requires a force pulling anything downwards?
Do you understand that an object can't move unless there's a force applied to it?
Yeah, like a person carrying a feather to the top of a building, you mean?
A downward force.
Not
What's
a downward force, an upward force. We have moved it up to the top of the building. That has given it potential energy. Why is this so difficult to understand?
Because describing potential energy
Shut up,
takes
Lewis.
two
Shut up.
forces.
Shut up.
Always.
Lewis,
But continue.
shut your mouth. Milo, why is it so difficult to understand that there's no other force than what you have given the feather or bricks when you take them to the top of the building?
No, you're saying that. That's not true, though.
So you mean to say that when you carry a feather, it's the same energy as when you carry a bag of bricks? Are you deluded?
You know that's not what I'm saying.
What are you saying?
Let's define a force.
No,
How do you-
let's explain why you think that taking a brick and a feather to the top of the building requires the same potential energy.
That's not what I'm saying.
Well, then you've got no point.
That's a straw man.
It's not a straw man. The cause of why the things are getting to the top of the building is you taking them there. Then you're explaining why they drop with some unknown force when you've put potential energy into them and then released it.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. That's where I win. You don't need any force of gravity in this equation. You've given it potential energy and then released it. Had you have not done so, it would have stayed exactly where it was.
Okay, so instead of taking a brick and a feather, let's talk about two bricks. One brick from the top of an Empire State Building and another brick from a foot off the ground. Do they have the same potential energy?
No,
Yes or no?
obviously
So why do they
not.
fall at the same rate?
How much energy does it take to lift a brick a foot off the ground, Milo?
You tell me.
No, you have to pick it up with your arm, don't you? You pick it up. That's
Yeah.
how much energy it takes in terms of what you have to do. Does it take the same amount of energy to lug it to the top of the Empire State Building, Milo? Does you think that's more or less energy that you've given that brick, you dumbass?
Nathan, I know they don't have the same potential energy.
Why did you ask that question then? My God, you are retarded.
Because why are they falling at the same rate?
They're
If
not.
one has more energy,
One
if one
hasn't
has more
hit
energy,
the ground at the same time. One takes longer, and it releases more potential energy over that time. Simple. You've given it more energy, it fell for longer. Easy.
yeah, but you gave it more energy, but it still fell at the same rate as
Yeah,
the
because
brick
it
you
had the
dropped
same
a foot
amount
off
of
the
air
ground.
resistance.
Huh?
It had the same air resistance. You've already gone through this. You've isolated the cause of why things fall at different rates. The air that
So
interferes with them. You have gone through this. We've established
So
that. So what are you going to do
why is-
now? Take the air away for both bricks?
No. Why is the brick with more potential energy falling at the same rate with less potential energy? That is the question.
Air. There's a substance that causes a resistance.
That causes things to fall at the same rate.
Yeah, they reach the same terminal velocity. Probably not at a foot. It probably wouldn't reach terminal velocity, but for the sake of this conversation, I will pander to your dumbass example.
It doesn't matter about terminal velocity.
Oh, does it not? Well, in that case, your example's completely flawed. They fall at totally different rates. The one higher up goes considerably faster, Milo. So they're not falling at the same rate. The one from a foot falls much slower. So this pisses all over your argument completely. I did pander to you and humour you for your crap example. They don't fall at the same rate. The one up high falls faster, Milo. You stupid
Nathan,
idiot.
let me explain to you
No,
why
not
you
let me.
don't understand what you're
They
talking
fall
about.
at different rates. You've said, why do they fall at the same rate? They don't. They fall at different rates. The one from a foot, the one from a foot fell very slowly. The one from the top of the Empire State Building went much faster, Milo. They were different rates.
Nathan, an object can go faster and still be going at the same rate as an object
Really?
that's
Well, it was going at a
slower.
different rate, different speeds, completely different.
No, same acceleration though. Same acceleration. That's the rate.
Oh, really?
Rate
You
of
Over a
understand
foot.
that?
The rate of change you're talking about.
The rate, yeah, the acceleration is the same from a foot, then
Yeah.
from the top of a Empire State Building.
And how many times have we got to say they've got the same amount of air resistance? The build-up
Excuse me?
of that resistance is the same for both. So what?
The acceleration between the two are
Yeah,
this.
because of the air. How many times have we got to say this? Yeah, are you just going to keep circle jerking this around indefinitely?
Is that an opinion or a fact, Nathan?
What, that you're circle jerking us? It's a fact.
No, what you're claiming about these bricks.
Yeah, they take potential energy to go up to the top of the Empire State Building and be released. Then you release the potential energy, and the reason the rate of descent increases at the same rate is because there is the same air between them. Simple. No gravity
what's your
involved in that
independent variable?
explanation whatsoever.
What's your independent variable?
There's no independent variable required. We're not doing an experiment. We're just going up to the top of the Empire State Building and establishing that it took quite a lot of energy to do so with bricks.
No, you're talking about facts. You're talking about scientific
Yeah,
facts.
fact. I walked up to the top of the Empire State Building. It took quite a considerable amount of energy because I had a bag of
Why
bricks
did
on
it
my
take a
back.
bunch of energy?
So you're
Why did
saying
it
that they
require that
fall at,
energy?
Why is Lewis
Right.
interrupting again?
hold up, James. So you're saying that they fall at the same rate because of air. So you're saying that's a scientific fact. So
No, you said
what's your
that.
independent
No, that's
variable?
what you said. You said in a vacuum
No.
chamber you remove the air and then
No,
they
no.
fall at the same rate, the feather and the brick. Therefore, the air is what causes them to fall at different rates.
No,
That's what
Nathan.
you said. That was your
The-
assertion.
No, Nathan. That's your assertion. Is
No,
that
that
the
was
air
your
is what's-
assertion. Why are you now telling me I
Nathan,
asserted?
listen.
I didn't mention vacuum chambers. You did.
You're not listening to me.
Nathan.
So
Yeah,
you're not
you
responding
talked
to what I'm
about
saying.
vacuum chambers. You talked about removing air from things. I jumped down your neck because you started off by saying we were on top of the Empire State Building. You brought up vacuum chambers. You made the assertions regarding the difference in air being removed. Not me.
Can I chime in for a minute?
No, hold up. I just want to ask Nathan one question. So is the brick at the Empire State Building and the brick a foot off the ground falling at the same rate because of air resistance? Is that a fact?
Yes.
Okay, great. That is a scientific fact. So
I didn't say it was a
now
scientific
give me-
fact. I
give
just said
me-
it was a fact.
Scientific. Nobody said
Give
that.
me your independent variable.
I didn't say it was a scientific fact.
It has to be a science. If it's a fact, it's a scientific fact. There's
Yeah.
no way around that.
Really? The Earth is obviously and observably flat.
Yeah, that's a scientific fact according
No,
to
it's
you.
not. It's obviously and
It has to
observably
be.
flat. I didn't say it was a scientific fact, did I? See, the reason we ask you Muppets for
Can
science...
you arrive?
Sorry,
you
Milo,
arrive
if
to
you don't
facts
mind.
any
If you
other
don't
way?
mind, Milo, the reason I ask you for scientific evidence is because you assert you are backed by science. I don't assert that. You understand the difference?
So what are you backed by?
Nothing. Nobody. I've got a YouTube channel. I'm just a guy in his
So-
lounge. Backed
so
by
before-
nobody, literally. Ridiculed by
Nathan.
almost everybody. So who am I backed by? Nobody. You're supposed
this
to be
is-
backed by science.
All right, so this is why I asked you if that was an opinion or a fact. You said
It's
it was
fact.
a fact.
It's fact. Like stating that we are travelling at 66,000 miles per hour, stated as fact to children. People state facts
No,
even though they're not scientifically validated. Your side of the argument states they are scientifically validated when they're not. I don't lie like that. Your side does.
So Nathan, the bricks, they have different potential energy and they fall at the same rate because of air. Is that a fact or an opinion?
It's a fact.
Great. What's your independent variable?
I didn't say it was scientific evidence. This is your
So what makes it a
assertion,
fact?
your example with your bricks, and you're asking me to define it with terms. Burden of proof
made it a
reversal
fact?
fallacy. You make your example true. You make proof of your example, Milo. Don't put it on my doorstep.
Yeah, I want to chime in for a minute, Milo. Hold on, don't,
Yeah.
please don't jump there. All right, I seen derailing in this point in this conversation. Everything went kind of all over the place about who claimed what. You proposed about gravity, something about gravity. I would like to hear what do you have to say about gravity. I mean, can you propose your point in like a minute? Like say like this is
Sure.
what's going on, this is what gravity means, and this is the conclusion. Can you do it? And hopefully Nathan don't interrupt. We can give you a minute, and then at the
I
end,
don't know if I
then
can
we
do it in
will
a minute.
chime in.
I don't know if I can do it
But
in a minute.
you can
but,
try. I
Can
think
I
you
can
try.
I
can do it in 10
can I ask you
seconds.
can I ask you a set of questions though, Jose?
But
Maybe
I
you
would
can
like to
clarify.
hear you. I would like to hear your explanation first before this go all over the place like it just did. Because questions and answers is not gonna go nowhere. I would like you to propose something and then we will be refuted.
So force is defined as mass times acceleration. So any mass accelerating is due to a force. So when you drop an object from high enough or from an inch off the ground, you observe it accelerating towards the ground. This acceleration of this mass can only be explained by a force.
That's not true. Let me
That's the only thing that's the only thing that can cause a mass to accelerate.
Other than potential energy, which I've said about 10 times and just gets ignored every single time I said it, nobody seems to be twigging that he's dodging this completely.
Nathan, I'm the only one talking about facts. You're bringing up opinions, so
What, that
I think,
potential energy is real, that you can put energy into something and then release it? You're saying a force
No,
must be
that-
applied to it. A force of something pulling it to the ground, even though you've given it energy and then released it. You're ignoring that.
Nathan,
no,
let me
the
have 2
fact
minutes
that you
with
said
Milo.
that air is what causes things to fall at the same rate. That's
You
your.
said that. That was your
that's your opinion.
assertion. You made that assertion. You brought up vacuum
No, I didn't.
chambers. You made that assertion. I ripped it to shreds, pointing out that from the
So-
top of the Empire State, they don't fall at the same rate.
So I said that air is what causes things to fall at the same rate. That's what I said,
You
right?
said you removed the air and they fell at the same rate. Feather and brick. That's what you asserted. Therefore, the
Yeah,
cause
but-
of them falling at different rates, the feather and brick, is the air resistance. Then you changed it so that they were exactly the same item. Because that
Yeah.
was pissed all over. You're just double speaking.
No, Nathan.
You haven't
I
proved
was the one
gravity.
that started.
You haven't proved gravity, and you're back to asking us questions about your assertions. That's what you're
Nathan,
doing.
you brought up the feather. I never brought up the
No,
feather.
I didn't.
You brought up a
said
feather.
you.
Yes, you
Your
did.
example was to go up to the Empire State Building. I didn't bring that up. Why are you doing this, Milo?
No, you-
just lying.
No, you brought.
Just
no,
lying.
because-
Jen,
I'm
I
gonna
didn't
t- I'm
bring up
gonna
this,
timestamp
Milo.
this,
You
Nathan, so
did.
that you can,
Now you're just
and I'll show
talking
you
all
when you
over
brought up the feather.
everybody.
Right, Nathan. Let me have Milo for 2 secs.
Sure.
Go ahead, Anthony.
Right. So you said about taking a brick up to the Empire State Building,
Mm-hmm.
and your point
Not a
was
feather.
that- yeah,
Yeah.
whatever. Because it accelerates downwards, therefore a force. Is that right?
Mhm.
So let's change it around a little bit. Let's get a bottle of pop, 2 liter
Mhm.
bottle of pop. Pour out the contents, and now you have the empty bottle of pop. Put the lid back on it and throw it on a swimming pool. What will the bottle do? Plastic bottle. What will the bottle do?
Throw it in a swimming pool.
Yeah. Will it float or will it sink?
It will fall until it hits the water.
Right, and it'll float on top of the water, right?
Yeah.
So if you go into the water and then you run that empty bottle, right the way down the deep end to the very end, and then let go of it, what's going to happen?
It'll rise.
Right. So why is there an acceleration upwards in that case? In that instance,
Because the water's being pushed down around it, causing it to be forced up. It's
So you,
density.
it's displacing the water around it, correct?
The water around it is being pushed down, and which is causing it to be pushed up. Kind of like
Correct. So how's
kind
that,
of like if you're in a crowd of people. Uh-huh. Yeah, go ahead.
how's that any different to the brick going down because the brick's heavier than the air? How is it any different when the bottle goes up because the bottle's lighter than the water? How's it any different?
Because weight is not what causes things to fall. Weight is just mass, and mass needs a force for it to accelerate.
But the bottle's got mass.
But the thing is that mass can accelerate spontaneously, and the water is the water bottle is not rising up spontaneously.
So what's the force that pushes the bottle up then?
Excuse me.
What's the force that pushes the bottle up?
So, Milo,
So back to the
just tell
question.
him,
Hang on.
gravity-
James, hang on. We're nearly there. What's the force that pushes the bottle up from the bottom of the swimming pool?
It's gravity pushing it all down, pulling it all down.
Lewis, shut up.
Anthony, I think I already said this, that the gravity is causing all the water around this bottle to be pushed down, which causes the bottle to be pushed up. You understand that? So the water is being pushed.
Gravity's pulling the water down, which pushes the bottle up. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Right. So in that case, then when it's the brick that's
Please
down the
hold it.
building.
Hello, all.
Hi, James.
So when it's the brick that's coming down the building in the air, you're saying the gravity's now pulling the brick down, but in the water situation,
Yes.
the water's being pulled down and the bottle's being pushed up because of it, right?
Yes, because the water bottle is more buoyant than it's
Okay.
buoyant. It's
All
less
right, so
dense than.
Correct
So
way
that
to
makes
say
logic-
that is pulling
that
them
makes
both
logical
down.
sense, right? And I'm sure there's a mathematical equation that can prove it, right?
Yeah, I don't know.
Absolutely.
I don't know the mathematics. I think James might know the mathematics behind it. I only know the logic behind it all.
It's as simple as they're saying it now, except for we're saying something's pushing something up, when the truth is gravity is pulling them both down. What it's doing, the same way you said that something was getting displaced, in this situation, like if you started the pool off empty and you had a basketball and an empty bottle in the pool empty, you would fill the pool with water. Gravity would be pulling the water down, and the water would be displacing these two objects, which are lighter but still being pulled down by gravity. And you can
But what
tell
you're
that it's being pulled
describing
down
is
still.
displacement, but you should be describing the force that's pulling the water down and that's forcing the bottle up, which I call displacement, but you're saying it's gravitational pull
The
of
the
water.
gravity, yeah, the displacement is caused by the gravity that's pulling the water into the pool. But if you
So
notice that
how
Yeah,
would you be able to demonstrate that your hang on?
This,
How would you
uh-huh.
how would you be able to demonstrate that your position's the correct one and mine's not? Because we
So
can
I'll tell you right
logically.
now. I'll tell you right now. So is displacement a cause or an effect?
Well, hang on a minute. You're the one
No.
that's asserting that gravity is the cause.
No, but
And
hold
you're
up.
now asking me is
No,
displacement
you.
the cause or effect?
Well, because you're trying to you asked us how do you distinguish between the two.
Yeah. How do you?
So,
Right,
so
go
why
on
do
then.
things get displaced? So
Why do things get displaced?
is displacement a cause or is it an effect?
Well, the displacement is the process, isn't it? So it's the effect of displacement is demonstrated. We see the
So
displacement.
something else causes displacement.
Yeah,
correct?
the disequilibrium.
Yeah, but disequilibrium is also an effect. So something is also causing the
No.
disequilibrium.
Yes, sorry
you've
to
got two
interrupt.
items that are
Yes,
not equal.
somebody pulls the ball or the bottle under the water. That is the cause of it.
Correct.
Nah, I don't know, Nate. I think you're too emotional.
Oh,
Well, the
really?
bottle wouldn't go up
I think
unless
you're
you
a
pulled it
dick.
down, would it?
Excuse me.
I think
The
you're
bottle
stupid.
wouldn't come back up again unless you pulled it down.
Okay.
Is this a critical point for the flat Earth debate, though?
Well, I think so because whether we live on a flat Earth or a globe Earth, you can't ignore that there is a downward acceleration. So
No, there isn't. There's potential energy in things. So the water that got into the pool wasn't pulled there by gravity. It had potential energy when it was above the level of the pool. And then it was poured through air that is less dense than it, so it got to the bottom. Simple.
I think I can help you guys realize that it still is gravity pulling it down the whole time. Is that
No.
once
But
The thing
they
that
but
pulled
you
it down.
guys are trying to say
Hang on,
that
hang on.
there is a
Wait, guys,
downward.
the thing that pulled it down was the human that swam to the bottom of the tank, not gravity.
then what's the thing that's leaving it on top of the pool and not rising up to the I don't know
to the atmosphere.
But
Yeah,
your
like-
argument
George,
is that
hold on one
gravity's
second.
pulling stuff down.
Hold on.
And
Hi,
we're
George.
Exactly.
Can you hear us? Hold on.
it's still
Hold
resting
on.
on the top of the
Hold
pool.
on.
Yeah,
Shut up.
the bottle is
Shut
still being
up.
pulled down.
Shut. Hello, George. Can you hear us?
George.
Hello, hey there, Riley. How you doing?
Good morning, sir. How are you?
I'm doing all right. Been up all night, so I'm a little tired and a little hoarse right now. I haven't gone to bed yet, but I might be able to help you guys out here a little bit if you'd indulge me to. I could explain this whole idea of what happens with objects when they're immersed in a medium, whether it be in water or air or whatever.
Yeah, George.
You guys kind of have it right. Some of you have it right. Some points right, some points wrong. But basically, what's going on, I'll give you the standard physics explanation of it. All right, all objects have mass. Okay. And when the mass is in a gravitational field, all masses experience a force on them. Okay, given by Newton's equation, force equals mass times acceleration. In this case, acceleration is gravitational acceleration. So if you have some mass, you multiply it by the gravitational acceleration, which in metric units is 9.82 meters per second squared, you get the force in newtons that the object weighs.
George,
Now, yes.
there is an issue at this point, though.
I'm getting. Okay,
yeah, no, but before you get to that point, there's an issue at this point. Before you get to the next point that we need to either agree or disagree on.
Can we let them go through? Let them go through and then disagree afterwards.
Okay.
It'll just take
so we can have a conversation. You know.
It just take me a couple minutes here.
Yeah, George.
All right. So any object. Let's talk about your object of a water bottle or a ball or a brick in water. There's two forces that act on that brick.
Sorry, just before you give that. Sorry to interrupt you. I'm really sorry. When you say in water, what do you mean exactly?
Water, like in a pool. Water.
Yeah. Is it submerged under the water?
Well, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, it does.
So
is it
floating,
submerged?
Just let them go through it.
Floating or in the water. Let's just say you have a brick.
I need to clarify. Is this? Let's say it's a basketball.
You just want to obfuscate.
Do you mind, Milo? I want to clarify. He said there's a ball in water. Well, water in water could mean sat on the top of it or at the bottom of a pool, having had somebody just drag it to the bottom and hold it there, ready to let it go, containing potential energy.
Yeah.
So
you
it does
want
matter.
to clarify before
Milo,
he even gets through.
Shut up! You are not giving this example. I am clarifying terms with George. So, George, is the water bottle or basketball pulled under the water or resting on the top of it?
Well, from what I was going to describe, it really doesn't matter. Is you can let's just use the example. You're holding it under the water, okay?
Oh right, so
and
it's been given. Sorry, just to clarify terms, George. Just to clarify terms. Okay. Sorry, I just need to get it in my mind. So I have just expended quite a lot of energy.
All right. So in this
George, I just want to get to George. Do you mind? I just want to get clarity. So I have just inserted quite a lot of potential energy into this ball by swimming out to the middle of the pool.
Nathan,
George, do you mind? George,
you
don't have to talk over me. I'm just clarifying the terms of what you're describing. So we have gone to the middle of the pool, swam into the middle, and then used quite a lot of my own energy to pull this ball against the force of the water to the bottom of the pool, and then we're holding our breath, expelling more energy, holding it there. Okay, I'm with you. Carry on.
Okay. Well, you don't have to be underwater. You can just stand on top of the water and just hold it underwater, a foot underwater or whatever. In that case, there'll be three forces acting on that ball. There'll be the force of gravity trying to pull it down. There'll be your force pulling it down, and then there will be the buoyant force trying to push it up. Well, the buoyant force is equal to the amount of water displaced, the weight of the water displaced. That's what Mr. Riley was saying, and he's got that correct. This is called Archimedes' principle, is that the amount of buoyant force that tends to push an object up in a medium when it's immersed in a medium is equal to the amount, the weight of the medium that's displaced by the volume of that object. So if, say, you have water roughly has a density of about 64 pounds per cubic foot, say your ball is you have a ball filled with air, and say it's about a cubic foot. If you immerse it in, pull it down so it's totally immersed in the water, the buoyant force upward will be equal to the weight of the water that's displaced by that ball. The ball being a cubic foot will be displacing about 64 pounds worth of water, and that will be the buoyant force upward. There will be a force pushing up on the ball of 64 pounds due to the buoyant force because of the amount of water displaced by the volume of that ball. So you will have to exert at least that amount of a downward force of 64 pounds to hold it so that it's, immersed in the water so that it doesn't pop up.
And does that equation take into account the energy that was put into the ball to get it into that state?
Pardon?
Does that take into account the energy put into it? So you're saying once it's under the water, to hold it against that is this equation, but it doesn't seem to account for the energy put into it in the first place. You just said that it's got gravity. You asserted it.
No. In this case, if a ball has very little weight, gravitational weight, so that in this case, if you had, say, a hollow ball, like a beach ball, say, that's a cubic foot in volume, and you're holding it under the water, it actually has very little gravitational weight. So most of the force to hold it down is going to be the effort or the force that you're going to have to exert against the buoyant force to hold it under the water.
Right, but to get it into that position in the first place would require...
The weight will be negligible.
You've missed my point. You've missed my point. You've just repeated the same thing. In order to get it into that state in the first place, you had to insert energy into it to get it there in the first place. Does that get factored in or not?
No, the work you do is immaterial once you get into the water.
Really? So I've swum out to the middle of the pool and I've just exerted quite a huge amount of energy to force my ball against the weight of the water to get it to the bottom to stand on it, and that's when you start to make your equation.
So the answer is no, it's not being calculated.
Yes. Well, once you have it in the water and you're holding it...
Just to clarify, George, just to clarify, no need to talk over me. Just to clarify, George, if you could let me answer the question. It is not factored in the initial energy put into the force against the water to get it to the bottom. It's only once you've got it there that your equation starts, correct?
You don't factor it in. No, you don't factor it in once you have it in the water and it's static, it's not moving in the water.
But you've increased by a massive factor the amount of potential energy by using your work and your energy to get it there in the first place. That's not factored in.
No, it's not.
Why not?
Well, once you're in a static state, once the ball is...
Not once you've done it again, George. Not once it's in a static state. There's a lot of energy being put in to that to get it there.
Yes.
Yes, why would that not be factored in?
But it's not imparted.
Don't sigh. Tell me why you're not factoring in the massive amount of energy I have to expel to get that ball under the water in the first place.
Okay.
Not okay, tell me why it's not factored in.
factored into what?
Your
All I'm saying
equation,
is,
you're saying it's only the resistance once you've got it on the ground, and then it's how much weight you're putting on it versus how much gravity, which doesn't exist, is being placed upon it, versus how much water weight is on it and how much it must displace, ignoring the massive amount of energy you had to put in to the ball in the first instance to get it to the bottom of the pool.
all I'm saying is we're starting at the point where
No, we're
at
not. The ball doesn't start at the bottom of the pool, you dumbass. You have to put it there. Did you hear me,
So
George?
what are you trying to?
Did you hear me? Repeat back what I just said.
Let me see.
Don't sigh. Repeat back what I just said. We do not start with the ball at the bottom of the pool, do we, George?
Okay, if you want to start, okay, let's assume the ball is floating on the top of the water. Okay.
And then we put a huge amount of energy into getting it to the bottom of the pool. Okay, with you. That's factored in now, is it?
It's Okay, it's floating. Now,
Nathan, what you're ignoring is that the
in the water.
Shut up,
To
Milo.
get it in the water, you're going to have to
Put a lot of energy into getting it to the bottom of the pool. Yes,
put a
that's right,
force
George.
on it that opposes the buoyant force.
Right, so I'm going to put energy into it. Okay.
Well, you're not really putting energy.
Yeah, I am, George. That's my point, you complete idiot. Yeah, we've undone your argument. Now don't tell me that I'm not putting force into something when I try and force a ball under a pool. I am, I assure you. Are you too old to understand how it works when you swim out into the middle of a pool and try and force something under it, George? Have you ever done that? Is it a long time since you swam out and tried to force something under a pool? It requires a lot of energy. You are indeed putting energy into that ball, you dumbass.
It's just a bunch of denial about the amount of energy that a person puts into something, like dropping a mic. I'm not in this. The mic fell by itself.
Yeah, I'm not in this. The ball got to the bottom by itself. Let's start with the ball being at the bottom. Let's ignore the fact that we had to paddle our little feet to get it there, right, George? You complete idiot.
But you're not the force is not proportionate to its buoyancy, or if you drop a mic, the force you apply to the mic is not proportionate to its fall. So you cannot blame the rate of its fall on any energy that you might be putting into it.
Yeah, you can. You can pick it up and say, if I hadn't picked that up, it wouldn't have fell. If I drop a glass, it's because I picked it up and released it. It had potential energy, then I released it. That's what you do when you drop something.
Right, but the potential energy is not proportionate to the rate of fall, so you cannot blame.
Well, the rate of fall is sod all to do with it. The rate of fall is determined by other factors, like its air resistance.
Right, so...
Yeah, right. Sod all to do with gravity. We haven't got to a single thing from any of you ballers where you've any way proved gravity exists. You just assert it based on a rate of descent after you have inserted potential energy into something, either up or down. But then you simultaneously ignore the fact that you have inserted quite a lot of potential energy into something. We start with the ball at the bottom of the pool. We start with the mic in the air and then say the reason it gets from here to there is gravity, ignoring the potential energy you insert into it.
Okay, the potential energy does not explain the rate of fall and the direction the object is falling.
Yeah, that's explained by air pressure. You've taken it up somewhere so it comes back down again based on the fact the air is thinner than the object. Its rate of descent is determined by its shape and its weight. Nothing to do with gravity.
It's not to do with...
No, it's not. Nothing to do with gravity. You haven't provided a single point that would allude to it being anything whatsoever to do with gravity.
Okay, the potential energy does not explain the rate of fall, and it does not explain the direction the object is falling. So the potential energy has nothing to do with why things fall at a certain rate and why things fall in a certain direction.
But if you do not put the potential energy into the equation that you are trying to explain, then the equation is incomplete. Do you agree with that?
No, because Jose, if the potential energy does not explain the rate of fall and it does not explain the direction it's falling, then potential energy does not have to be taken into account. Something
But there
else
are
is
many
no, Jose.
forces. Hold on one second.
Uh-huh.
Let's say
Yeah.
George's example. It was very telling. He said there are three forces applied. There's the pulling force of gravity. There's the pushing force of on the buoyancy, and then there's the energy you applying to the ball. Let's make the equation. Let's equate the pulling force and the buoyant force, and then he just let the energy out of
Hmm.
the equation. Why? If there's a
Because the
force, right?
no, because the potential energy is not what's causing things to fall down, and it's not what's causing things to fall at a specific rate. That's why we don't take that into account.
Sorry,
You
potential
understand?
energy didn't cause the ball to fall. The potential energy caused the ball to go up. So we gave it potential energy and it didn't necessarily fall, did it, Milo? The ball went up. So you can give potential energy to things and it can go in the opposite direction. It just depends how much potential energy to how much it will return to an equilibrium.
Grabbing how much energy it has to work against. Okay, so
No,
every
how
bit
much
of energy.
energy I have to work against. I have to work against something in order to put it into the position. You guys simultaneously ignore that. You start with the feather at the top of the vacuum chamber. You start with the ball at the bottom of the pool, ignoring the potential energy that has been put into it by me going up the stairs or me paddling to the bottom of the pool.
That's what I'm saying. If you don't
So
start there. If you
Nathan,
want to start where you want to start, Nathan, you see that you have to put energy to work against some other energy going in the opposite direction in both those cases. In the case of
so
the
right.
buoyancy, you're going against the buoyant energy. You have to put
Yeah, we're going against the buoyancy. Yeah, not against gravity. Why are you dumbasses using our argument against us like it's somehow your argument?
Milo.
No, Nathan. So what explains the direction and the rate of
Don't ask
fall?
me anything. You guys have got an assertion that gravity is real. Now you're asking me to explain it with your crap examples, spinning them round, using every fallacy you can. It's absolutely
So
pathetic.
so
Absolutely
so that
pathetic.
you're not so that you're not strawmanning us. How about you explain why we're ignoring the potential energy,
Well, hang on.
I
just so we
explained
can be
something
clear?
here.
Can I
Why am I ignoring potential energy and simultaneously giving you gravity with no proof? That's what you want me to do. You've got to be joking. What an absolute joke. These guys are a riot. Anyway, we're going to take a short break, so a massive thank you to all of the live audience for tuning in and hopefully sharing this debate. And of course, a massive thank you to all of the debating panel for making this debate possible. If you hated the show, then you know exactly what to do. But if you like the show, maybe consider sharing it with a friend or subscribing if you've not done so already. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!